I'm fighting Gervonta Davis
Okay,
on
wow.
Netflix.
Let's go.
People think that he could actually beat me, and people think he could outbox me, and he's so powerful and this and that. That's what makes it a good fight. November 14th, Netflix.
It's kind of weird because Jake Paul is extremely bigger than Tank, and I mean, but with it being a exhibition, it makes sense. It's fine. He got a big name.
Boxing pros slammed Jake Paul versus Tank Davis as a mockery, a money grab that unfairly mismatched a smaller fighter against a bigger one. Starting with Amir Khan, who blasted the idea of Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis, calling it a blatant mismatch. He argued the fight wasn't just unfair, but also dangerous, since Davis would be at a serious size disadvantage. Khan slammed the promoters for exploiting the matchup, saying it was nothing more than using a smaller fighter for entertainment and profit.
A really bad mismatch, and you know what? Whoever the promoter is and that's agreed Gervonta to fight, and whoever the promoter is to fight for Jake Paul to say fight this little man. I mean, that's wrong, man. I mean, that's just like torturing someone. Yeah, I mean, going in there and hurting someone is just not fair on Davis.
Khan even hypothesized that Davis personally said he had legal issues, and he may be taking the fight for financial reasons or some sort of walkout. He summed up by stating that these fights were harming boxing's credibility.
This is in. I heard that he's been having a lot of legal problems and been arrested a couple of times for a couple of felonies and stuff I've seen with his ex-wife and stuff. So you know what? You don't know what's going through his head. Maybe he just wants to cash up and walk away from the sport. And maybe this is a great opportunity for him where he's seen this fight come up and he's like, fuck it, I'll take it. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think they're making boxing a joke, really.
Amir Khan has been on record as saying that dangerous mismatch fights like this could lead to serious injury. He reiterated that if a fighter gets badly hurt in a fight that was solely made for a spectacle, boxing may be seriously damaged long term. He stated, "One day someone's gonna get a serious injury, and then it's definitely gonna ruin the sport." This fight was already met with a lot of backlash from the boxing world, with a chorus of reactions from analysts, former champions, and hardcore fans cursing or condemning the fight. Many pointed to the clear mismatch of Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis, since Paul is a much more inexperienced boxer who also fights at a different natural weight and size. Dan Rafael has expressed significant doubts about the fight regarding the issue of weight class in boxing. Rafael mentioned that throughout the history of boxing, weight classes have always been utilized weight classes to formulate a degree of safety and fairness. Rafael even compared the unique size advantage that Jake Paul has over his last opponent, Mike Tyson, to a more recent match against Gervonta Davis, who proportionately just a proportionate size difference, but is a significantly skilled fighter.
But that doesn't mean that you should be having a lightweight fight in a cruiserweight / heavyweight. So it'll be an exhibition fight. Now, whether they go all out and try to win, I guess we'll have to see. You know, some people would think maybe it turns out like other exhibitions we've seen where it doesn't have the excitement because they're not truly going for it, like Jake Paul and Tyson. Now it was an official fight, not an exhibition, because they were on similar terms in terms of the weight.
Rafael expressed even though exhibitions were healthy, matching a featherweight against a cruiserweight was still on shaky ground competitively. He commented that, in the end, this fight may not necessarily have been as intense as it could and should have been, as fighters may want to avoid injuring each other. Rafael compared his situation to the situation with which Jake Paul fought with Mike Tyson, as Paul admitted on video he did not try to knock out Tyson, despite it being a real match and notwithstanding generally neutral weight.
Boxing has, for the entirety of its existence, you know, relied upon weight classes. You can't now all of a sudden here in 2025 have, as you said, a heavyweight / cruiserweight, a Jake Paul that's 200 pounds, fought Mike Tyson close to 227 pounds, taken on in an official fight a Tank Davis, who is a tremendously skilled boxer and a lot more experience as a professional than Jake Paul is, and, you know, is a multi-division world champion and one of the better fighters in the entire sport.
Russ Amber had very forcefully condemned the Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul fight, thinking it was unclear how the regulatory bodies and larger organizations could allow such an uneven contest. He believed it tainted the purity of boxing when classes and fair competition are disregarded. His warning was not just an ethical one, as he was warning of serious physical injury from Davis due to their difference in size and experience, as well as his punching power.
I just don't understand it. I don't understand how even
a company like a streaming service like Netflix gets even behind something like this, how an athletic commission, because now you have to wonder what is the integrity of an athletic commission that you're allowing a cruiserweight to step into the ring with a lightweight, how you're allowing a lightweight to do that and avoid, you know, his mandatories and the fights he has to make and the other guys in the division.
Amber said this fight was an attempt at creating wealth since it was not a fight but a circus event. Too much entertainment value. It was possible he had something in his opinion because of his appreciation of boxing tradition in which ability and matching of talent were of greater importance than entertainment value.
I know it's about a question of money that, you know, it's just like, well, this is easy money. Because I'll tell you what, if if Gervonta Davis hits him, you know, there could be a problem here. There could be a serious problem because this guy can really fight. So I just don't even know how we're looking at that in this day and age where you're just putting on just freak sideshow circus type fights and we're supposed to be behind it and say, yeah, this is good. Maybe I'm just from another era that I just don't see it that way.
One of the biggest concerns that everyone had surrounding the fight was the physical disparity between Jake Paul and Tank Davis. Jake Paul has comfortably fought around the cruiserweight division as he has a natural frame much larger than Tank's. Instead, the concern was raised about whether the fight would be a danger to either fighter. Wade Plemons, host of the Wade Concept, argued it did not make sense from a boxing standpoint either. While Jake Paul has tried to position himself as a serious player in boxing, the fight will not advance that accomplishment. Instead, the fight is likely to further alienate both camps. It will play in the casual scene, but it will not win over purists. Plemons described it as walking the tightrope of notoriety and ridicule.
It's an exhibition, and when this was rumored to happen months ago and I was saying it was a nonsensical fight for Jake to do, I still think it's a nonsensical one from a boxer perspective, from his goals in boxing perspective. But again, if it makes dollars, it makes sense, and we've seen that Jake will kind of bounce in between doing these entertainment fights and then, you know, trying to push toward his goal of you know, ingraining himself in the sport of boxing, and kind of does both of them. So it's kind of a weird place to be because he wants the respect of the boxing fans and the boxing hierarchy and hardcore boxing people, but at the same time he'll gain some of that and then lose some of it. It's like a seesaw of his fights. Like one fight, like, okay, that's a real fight. Or that
career trajectory issues accompanied the size issue. Gervonta Davis had built a reputation on a foundation of sound technique, frightening punching power, and upper echelon accomplishments in title fights. To him, fighting Jake Paul, who emerged from the social media arena, was pointless, a backward move, and a potential mark on his legacy if anything went wrong. Some critics claimed that a defeat would be the ultimate failure for a fighter of Tank's stature, and it wasn't anything remarkable to beat an opponent so much younger and obviously below Tank's weighing ability. Trainer Greg Hackett, who has followed Gervonta Davis into boxing, also expressed disbelief after he learned of Davis's fight with Jake Paul. Hackett said he felt like Davis had entirely lost his way. Later, after thinking through the situation, Hackett saw the boxing match through the lens of financial gain. Jokingly, he said that the financial deals that are at that level made every fighter take the payday.
Saw that they was instead of him fighting Lamont, he'd be fighting Jake, whatever. At first I was like, damn, Tank, like that's kind of crazy, like. But then I started thinking about it throughout the day. I'm thinking about it. I'm seeing the posts, and I'm like, yo, none of this is guaranteed.
Despite all the unfavorable press the pairing has gotten, Hackett was still optimistic about the outcome. He had anticipated Davis to have greater skills, speed, and IQ anyway, and it should theoretically be pretty easy for him to control the fight. He sees Tank fighting Jake Paul, and then going the distance, then finishing the fight probably with a KTFO this time by the 8th round.
At the end of the day, man, he taking a shot at some money. We all wish we could have made that kind of money. I don't understand the issue. He could come back and fight whoever he want after that. His career is not over just because you fighting Jake Paul. Jake Paul ain't no type of fucking demon. It's not like he about to go in there with Godzilla. You about to play around for 8 rounds, 2 minutes with a dickhead. You know what I mean? No disrespect. But, you know, with somebody that think they know how to fight.
MMA organizations like the UFC would never allow a weight class mismatch or the fight style of a YouTuber against a pro like this or otherwise, and safety and respect to the sport are primary. Amir Khan scolds boxing for being a spectacle, and these type of fights diminish boxing's integrity.
One thing you're not going to see in UFC, that they're going to go and fight some YouTuber, or a YouTuber's going to fight a UFC lightweight or like a featherweight, for example, or a bantamweight, whatever you want to call it. See, they respect that because there you can get hurt badly. Whereas with boxing, I think people are just making a joke of the sport.
Khan subsequently remarked that it is not mismatched, that Gervonta Davis needs to fight competitive fights against other elite class fighters in his weight class. He clearly stated that Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia, and Devin Haney were all also very legitimate contenders who will present a real challenge while also enhancing his legacy instead of tarnishing the sport. He continued, "If I were Davis's promoter, I would have said maybe go with fighting like Teofimo Lopez. Shakur Stevenson's also good. Ryan Garcia. You've got Devin Haney too. I mean, you've got some good fighters there." Nonito Donaire provided his perspective and thought of the fight as a great thing for growing the sport of boxing. He thought it was capable of being entertaining and gathering a large audience. Donaire pointed out that Jake Paul could actually compete in a fight against Gervonta Davis, another fighter who was praised for his great skill set. This fight would then highlight how far Jake had progressed in his boxing world, he added.
This is a moment where you just have to embrace what's coming, and that's social media, that's entertainment, that's people that just don't even know about it, but there's a big name in it and they're gonna watch the fight, right? So exhibition and all that stuff, this is the time for it. If you don't grow, guess what? You're gonna be like all those stores that close down. And this is part of it. And in boxing, it's helping boxing out because it's putting more eyes in boxing. Boxing becomes more of the entertainment when it comes down to it. So I'm all for it, you know, and however it is, I mean, you got a fighter that's been fighting all his life and a fighter who's been fighting 5, 6, 7 years but has learned. So
Shakur Stevenson stepped up, saying that the fight didn't have enough substance and was too much ceremony, and that it hurt the credibility of the sport. He felt that too many of these fights took the attention off the top-level fights and detracted from the quality of boxing, as there was increasing focus on how to make a matched-up fight with a side circus theme.
What do you think about the rumors of Tank and Jake fight?
Man, Tank disrespectful to the sport if he choose that over fighting with me. I'm the best fighter in the sport. I've been telling him that. And he called cap on it. So if you won't call cap and say I'm not who I say I am, come prove it.
Previously, Stevenson stated he didn't expect Jake Paul to really have much success at all against Gervonta "Tank" Davis. He said Tank was boxers to their roots since early in life, taking on the best he could be placed before him, and weeds out their beginner when Jake was only now fumbled getting the most basic of fundamentals, wherein there was a difference in skill and experience too greater to be contested seriously, according to Stevenson.
I mean, size will play some part of the fight, but if I'm thinking like I'm Tank, I'm probably just gonna go out there and try to outbox him and use my knowledge and IQ against him. So I can see Tank just outboxing him and making it real easy. I'm not shocked. I mean, his last fight when he fought Lamont, Jake Paul was at the fight. He told y'all he was gonna fight somebody like Jake Paul. So I'm not shocked. It don't surprise me. So
This is a moment in time where the battle against Gervonta Davis will, in its own right, be an era-defining moment. Paul undoubtedly is preparing to fight a world champion who is not only one of the sport's most dangerous and accomplished fighters pound for pound. The size difference may offer Paul a distinct advantage, but in regard to technical ability, fight IQ, and experience in the ring, Davis will still assign an additional disadvantage to Paul. This will create a split in boxing public sentiment. Some will feel that the physical build could see Paul in a better contest than what his preparation promises on paper, whereas others would argue this is lopsided and experience will win the day. Dave Allen spoke about the fight, saying that Jake Paul isn't a bad fighter, given his limited experience. Allen says that it is true Paul works hard and puts the time in, even if he is still not hugely good according to professionals. He said that it would be fine to make some money from this, assuming no one got seriously injured.
He got beat. But I think his area title level, I think he works really hard, I think he trains hard, and I don't think he's a bad fighter at all. I don't think he's I don't think he's a good fighter, but he's not a bad fighter. For his experience, he's not bad at all.
But Allen said that he thought it was a silly fight, given that Gervonta Davis was in the prime of his career. He said it was not the type of fight they would want to see, and he would never pay to watch this match. Allen stated the fight was nonsense, and was taking away from them having serious fights.
Gervonta Davis is a lightweight. So, by all means, if they make a few quid and nobody gets hurt, then great. But I certainly wouldn't be paying a penny to watch it. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous, farcical. Who wants to watch an exhibition? Gervonta Davis is in his prime years. Why is he wasting his time?
Dave Allen expressed his opinion on Gervonta Davis participating in a crossover fight, saying that although the money could be enormous, it could be at the expense of his legacy. Allen questioned whether Davis really wanted to chase after greatness or if he only cared about money at this moment in his career. Dave Allen said, "I understand the money's good, but he's in the prime years. He's in his best year. This is when he can become. Maybe he doesn't want to be an all-time great. Maybe he doesn't want to do all that stuff. Maybe he just wants the money, but I don't get it." Trainer Bob Santos contributed his part with the backdrop, noting that this is a fight that is created to generate public interest and get a large following. Santos admitted that purists may not like the fight, but there is certainly intrigue in a Davis versus Paul matchup in terms of skill. At the same time, Davis is clearly at a size disadvantage. Santos made a good point in saying that it isn't about if the fight is good, it is about who can execute their strengths when the lights come on.
Obviously it's an exhibition, but like anything in life, you know what I mean? When you get guys, I'll say this, in an NBA game, right, there's something on the line and so forth, and it's going to go in the record books in terms of being official. But you know, sometimes when you play basketball one-on-one with somebody in the backyard, sometimes that can get more chippy and physical than anything, or just like, you know what I mean? Even some of the sparring sessions sometimes, it might not be official, but some of the sparring sessions are more brutal than the fights themselves. And I have a distinct feeling that both guys are going to want to put on a show. And it's going to be very interesting, Gervonta's skills versus his size.
Yeah. And now it is the voices that want to deliver their opinion on one of the most talked about matchups in recent memory. Is it a bold move to bring exposure to the sport for new audiences, or is it a risk that undermines the credibility of the sport? One thing is certain, we have only just begun to scratch the surface of this debate, and when the fight night arrives in just a few weeks, we will have the answers, or at least be closer to an answer. So what do you think on Shore? Is this fight good for boxing or bad for boxing in the future? Let us know your opinions in the comments, hit the like button, and subscribe for more fight analysis.